Thank you, friends. Uh, you all are welcome in today's lecture on an introduction to Thanjavur Brihadisvara Temple, a temple of Lord Shiva, the god of gods, by the side of Kaveri River in Tamil Nadu in Thanjavur city. And we are very fortunate to have with us today Professor V. Selvakumar, who is a seasoned archaeologist, a product from that's Deccan College, and he has a very vast experience of teaching, educating, learning, researching, and doing so many things. He's a heavily scheduled person, so many responsibilities and projects, and so many things to do. Even though, with my little request, the kind professor, uh, given his consent to me to deliver his lecture today on Brihadeswara. So, sir, it is a matter of great pride for all of us, those who are watching Culture Matters with Kailash Mishra at FolkBrain, that you have accepted our request and decided to deliver a much needed, awaited, and the lecture that I wanted my audience and viewers to hear, see, witness through PowerPoint presentations, through your almost divine word of academic eclose. So thank you very much for accepting my request.
Yeah.
Now, please
Welcome
start.
and thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Please start.
Okay. Good evening to you all. Greetings to you all from Thanjavur. I am very happy to be part of this program in which we are going to see the Thanjavur Brihadisvara Temple. I would like to thank Dr. Kailash Mishra for this opportunity. You know, India is a land of temples, and in Tamil Nadu, we have a lot of temples. And these temples have played an important role in, in the society right from the medieval period. And these temples have been the storehouse of informations. These temples were the archives in which we find a lot of historical records. They're very precious for understanding our history. In addition to that, the temples were also functioning like a kind of treasury, and they were linking up people across the various sections of the society. So we'll be looking into the Thanjavur Brihadisvara Temple, which is one of the landmarks of Chola architecture. In fact, if you look at the temples and other religious institutions across India, we can understand how people have invested so much of energy and resources into the construction of these temples. These temples today, apart from fulfilling their spiritual purposes, they are also acting as an important source of economy for the country, in the sense that several people visit, several tourists visit them, and they enjoy the art and architectural aspects of the temple. Today, I am going to speak about the Thanjavur Brihadisvara Temple, and this will be a basic introductory kind of lecture in which I'll be talking about the main aspects of Thanjavur Brihadisvara Temple. In the end part of this presentation, I'll be speaking about some of the information found in the Thanjavur Brihadisvara Temple inscriptions. This temple is located at Thanjavur, which is about 50 kilometer east of Tiruchirappalli, which is an international airport. You can reach this town from Chennai by train, and also via Trichy, by coming up to Trichy by flight and then taking a taxi or a car or by bus. This town is very well connected. This town is sitting in the head of the Kaveri Delta. You know, the river Kaveri originates in Kudagu or Coorg in Karnataka and flows through Erode and Karur and Tiruchirappalli and fans into the Kaveri Delta, which has been the main powerhouse of the medieval Chola Empire. This particular delta helped to produce surplus that in fact supported the Cholas, who were who formed a successful maritime empire, say in the medieval period, mainly from about mid 9th century to 13th century. For almost 4 centuries, they in fact had ups and downs. The Cholas occupied the region of central part of Tamil Nadu, and Kaveri Delta was their center, and Thanjavur was the capital. You have evidence for the Cholas even right from the Ashokan times. Ashokan inscription, Ashokan rock edicts mention about the three kingdoms of South India, the Cholas and Cheras and Pandyas, and also they mentioned about Satyaputra. The Cheras are mentioned as Keloputra. Cholas are mentioned as Choda, and Pandyas are mentioned as Pada. These people, these political formations were independent of Ashokan Empire. It is believed that the southern limit of Ashokan Empire was up to Kanjipuram. And these political formations were independent of the Ashokan Empire, and they had a very important contribution in this part of the country. And these Sangam age Cholas were fighting with the Pandyas and other kingdoms, and they had a very busy schedule of political activities till about 3rd century CE. After that, there was a break in the continuity of Cholas and what is otherwise known as Calabra interregnum or Dark Age. In fact, it was not a Dark Age, but in the history, we have always, many Dark Ages, often constructed or imagined Dark Ages. And that was an age when Buddhism and Jainism were prominent in this region. In fact, we don't have much information on this particular period, say from 3rd century CE to 6th century. From 6th century onwards, we have evidence of Pallava activities in the northern part of Tamil Nadu, who were ruling from Kanchipuram. In the southern part of Tamil Nadu, there were Pandyas who contributed immensely for art and architecture. They were creating rocket caves and monolithic temples. They are found all over Tamil Nadu. So from 6th to 9th century, it was the domination of Pallavas in the northern part of Tamil Nadu and the Pandyas in the southern part of Tamil Nadu. It is during this time the Bhakti movement began to grow, mainly because of the activities of the Shaivite saints and also because of the activities of Vaishnavite saints. Many of these saints went to the sacred centers where they sung poems. They converted some of the concepts of Itikasha Purana tradition into a simple Tamil language so that people could understand the importance of these ideologies. And in this way, they were traveling all across Tamil Nadu and they were singing in praise of these deities, mainly Shiva and Vishnu. And these texts form part of what is known as Devaram corpus, and for mainly for the Shaivite religion, and for the Vaishnavites, we have Nalayira Divya Prabandham. There are several Vaishnava temples. If you visit Tamil Nadu, you can see several sacred centers called Padal Petrastalam. They are Devaram sites, which are very important in the sense that these temples have beautiful structural construction and also inscriptions and a lot of poems sung by these saints. They are narrating the landscapes in a very beautiful language and also about the valor and deeds of the gods. So that was part of the Bhakti movement. And during this period, the temples were of small structure. In fact, Pallavas and Pandyas laid the foundation for the temple architecture in South India. Initially, they were creating rocket caves and monolithic, and gradually they moved on to building structural temples, because these caves and rocket temples had limitations, because they had to carve these temples wherever rocks are available, whereas structural temples could be constructed wherever there are people. In a way, these kings, they constructed temples in many of the settlements, and they started building stone temples because earlier temples were primarily made of brick and other perishable materials. We find an important inscription in this regard in the Mandakapattu cave of Mahendra Varma, who mentions in his Sanskrit inscription he created a kind of shrine for Shiva, Vishnu, Brahma without using wood, mortar, a metal, and other materials. So he says that he preferred this media. From then onwards, we find a lot of structural temples. From the late part of Pallava period, you see experiments with the construction of temples. The temples in Kanjipuram and also at Panamalai and several other temples were early, and also at Mamallapuram, where were the experiments in structural temples. In a way, the Pallavas and the Pandyas laid the foundation for temple architecture in South India, and then Cholas became an important power in the middle of 9th century CE. So they created an empire out of the small kingdom when they started in the middle of 9th century, when Vijayalaya Chola laid the foundation for medieval Chola kingdom. And then this kingdom, after Aditya and Parandaga, reached its zenith during the time of Raja Raja I. Raja Raja I came to power in 985 CE, and he was ruling till 1014. And this is one of the important imperial age of the Chola period. And then came Rajendra, his son. Together, both Raja Raja and Rajendra laid a very big foundation for a more maritime empire. They were controlling parts of Sri Lanka, and also Rajendra in particular went up to Southeast Asia, and Rajendra also conquered part of Ganga, mainly probably Bengal and Orissa region, and took the title Gangaikonda Cholan, and he created a new capital at Gangaikonda Cholapuram. In fact, Gangaikonda Cholapuram also has a temple exactly like what we have at Brihadeswara Temple at Thanjavur, but that temple is slightly smaller in size. The Rajendra first, in fact, established an entire capital in the dry region north of the river Kaveri and river Kolarun, away from the delta. So when you look at the Chola period, it is not only art and architecture, it is also the administration. The Chola inscriptions were in very detail about the administrative activities. Several researchers have worked on the history of Cholas. Many of the students and scholars would be familiar with the works of Nilakanta Sastri. He wrote a book on Cholas, which is also available free on archive.org. You can check as a PDF published by University of Madras. And then we have the works of Y. Subbarayalu. He has published a book on Chola administration. Then Noboru Karashima, who has done an in-depth study of Chola inscriptions. Hundreds of and thousands of Chola inscriptions are found, and these inscriptions tell us the minute aspects of the Chola administration and day-to-day life. In a sense, we could reconstruct the most of the aspects of Chola history through the analysis of inscription. Sometimes these inscriptions are not direct, they give us information, indirect information with which we can reconstruct, but thus we can understand the multidimensional nature of the Chola power. And in terms of art and architecture, the Cholas really expanded because of the empire they could construct, and the building these large monuments also had a symbolic role in boosting their power and boosting their legitimacy. So to make the capital as a real power center, Rajaraja constructed this temple. He started the construction in 1003, and it is said that he took 7 years to complete that. The temple was completed in 1010 CE. The temple now stands tall even after 1,000 years. One of the remarkable feature of the temple is almost entirely constructed with stones, granite stone, which is not available within a distance of say 60 to 70 kilometer in this area. So the entire amount of volume of stone used for the construction of the temple was brought from elsewhere. This itself was a mammoth task. They transported the stone from far away, and then they employed numerous architects and specialists in planning the temple, and it was executed perfectly to a measurement. And very interesting thing is this particular temple was built with the stone and without any binding material. The stone walls were very thick and heavy. The stones are standing on top of the structure. They were placed one above the another. Their solid weight, and probably they were using a kind of knob and kind of socket system which interlocked, and they didn't use any mortar. And apart from that, Raja Raja also donated a lot of lands to the temple. In addition to that, he linked several villages by allotting lands from specific villages, and certain and temple servants called Talicheri Pendugal, the women who were serving the temple, they were allotted about 400 women from different parts of the Chola Empire. They were linked to this temple, and even in Sri Lanka, the temple was given land. This is in one way symbolically linking the capital and the temple to the entire Chola Empire. So that time the state formation was taking place, and mainly in the early time we had a small kind of experiments with the state. During the imperial time, both Raja Raja and his son Rajendra first, they took enormous control over the empire, and they took several measures. But what happens is, after every empire, every kingdom has a kind of its own life, like the wheel. It comes to the back to the same place where it started. Same thing happened in the case of Cholas in the late 12th centuries. There they started declining, and then the Pandyas took over. Pandyas, in fact, destroyed their capital at Gangaikonda Cholapuram, and gradually Cholas became a very insignificant power. After 1278, they almost disappeared. So this was one of the important factor why this particular region was open to other kinds of invasion. And after that, we could never see a kind of strong political system in this country. Therefore, we need to appreciate the Cholas in creating an order. In generally, in any kind of country or any kind of region, a kind of political power is very important. When there is a strong political power, it creates a kind of a system. This is what happened in the case of Cholas. But then again, nature has its own way, and history has its own course, and there are several factors which contribute to the decline of the power. That is how we can briefly summarize the history of Cholas. Now I'll move on to the PowerPoint presentation. We will go into the temple, the Thanjavur Brihadisvara Temple. In fact, the original name of the temple was Raja Rajeswaram. Raja Rajeswaram, and that was the name that Raja Raja gave. And later on, what happened, and people made it as Brihad Ishvara. Brihad means big, and Ishvara, and that is the name we have it now. And it is translated as a great big temple or great temple. But Raja Raja, in fact, wanted his own name, and that is how the temple is known as. Now we will move on to the next presentation, and I think I can. Now can we see the presentation? I can move.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can move. You can manage yourself.
Okay, okay, right. I will go to the
We can see
my, yeah,
we can see the
yeah, yeah.
presentation, sir, and
Okay,
introduction to
okay,
Brihadeshwara Temple. Yes,
yeah, okay, okay. Thank you. Yeah, now you can
sir,
see
sir.
this kind of temple. This is Dravidian temple. I have introduced this particular image to tell people what are the main aspects of Dravidian style vimana. And this is the typical Dravidian style vimana. Now outline, you can see the different components, and you have something called Upapida. It is a platform or a sub base, and this is given to give a height to a temple. When you build a temple, if you give a kind of Upapida, what happens? The entire temple can be built to a great height. And this is not Raja Rajeswara. This is just a model to tell you what are the features of a Dravidian style temple. The same way we have Thanjavur Brihadisvara Temple, which has a Upapita, over which we have the plinth, which is called Adhisthana. That is the base on which the pada or wall, the pillars are placed. This particular portion as Upana, Jagadi, Padma, Kumuda, this is Tripata Kumuda. And sometime you have a round Kumuda. Kumuda is kind of a lotus, and it is sometime in the form of a vritta in a circular shape, sometime in three angles. Then you have a Vyala, a frieze of Vyala called Vyala Bari. It is here. I hope, yeah, I am not able to see my show my cursor. Okay. Then you have a Vyalabari. Then you have Bithi
You
or
can continue, sir. Things are visible.
okay,
Things are visible. Continue.
okay. Okay, I am trying to get my cursor. Yes, I got it. So this is called Vyalavari. We find a frieze of composite animals, which have lion and several other combination. They are found here, and over which you find this pillars, pilasters. They are attached to the sanctum sanctorum or garbhagraha, and then you have that this one prastara or cornice entablature, and here you have a kudu motifs, and again you have a frieze of Vyalavari, and this is also known as Kapota. You have Makaratorana, and then this is called Haramala. Haramala, which is actually used for counting a particular tire. This have Karnakutu, these kind of square structures in both end, and then this is called Shala. This is of rectangular in shape, and then you have other feature. This portion is called Griva, and this is known as Shikara in South Indian architecture. And finally, you have Stupi. This is how the South Indian temples, mainly the Vimana part, are constructed, and they have 6 or 8 angas, or 6 or 8 parts. And a temple structure is compared to a standing human, whereas with the head is compared to this Shikara, and then Stupi is compared to Ushnisha. So that is the kind of the Dravidian temple architecture. Here you see a view of Thanjavur Brihadisvara Temple in the evening, during the sunset, and here you can see this majestic temple which stands tall for 216 feet, 216 feet, and this entire enclosure is so massive, and the temple is placed exactly in the center, and very interestingly it uses particular calculation. I tried to measure this temple as for a research project that I undertook as part of Indian National Science Academy. In this particular research project, we sought to understand how exactly the temples were planned, what exactly for the measurement was the measurement. So what we did was we tried to measure the gap between the main shrine and the circumambulatory passage, which is there on all 4 sides, and we found the gap between the main shrine and the circumambulatory passage is exactly around 39.4 meter or 39.38 meter. So interestingly, we could correlate, we found in another place a measurement rod. In the medieval time, people used measurement rods for, measuring the temples, for constructing the temples, and also for measuring the land as well as for taxation. So based on this rod marked in several other places, we could estimate these people were using a measurement scale of 392 to 396 centimeter long measurement rod, which can be equated to 16 span rod. So this is the understanding that we get from the measurement. And if you look at the sanctum sanctorum, this temple has been studied by several people, Professor Nagaswamy and Pechard from French Institute, IGNCA, and this École Française. They have produced a monumental work which gives a perfect documentation. And Kudavayil Balasubramaniam, he has published a work in Tamil. When you look at the Sanctum Sanctorum or Garbhagriha, it measures 792 centimeter. If you divide this by 2, it comes to 396 centimeter, which is a measurement rod used in the Chola times. When you look at this temple, there is a central shrine around which there is a fortification. This particular fortification was built during the Nayaka period after 15th or 16th centuries. It is a massive fortification. And this fortification was constructed during the time of Nayakas, when they started occupying the Tamil Nadu region from after 15th century onwards. And then we have evidence of Marathas ruling Thanjavur. So in a way, Thanjavur was multicultural and cosmopolitan in nature. And then later on, after the Maratha rule, the local, the colonial rule took over. Then it became a local, our Tamil administration. So this is the view of the particular fortification wall. Outside the fortification wall, we have a moat. We have a moat that is also present. Right now, the moat is not functioning. The Thanjavur town and the Thanjavur temple were strengthened by a fortification wall by the Nayakas, and you can see the traces of this particular moat and the fortification wall. The fortification wall around the temple is intact, whereas the other areas, it has disappeared. Now, under the smart city scheme, the government is trying to retrieve the land and try to preserve some of the structure. This is the view behind the Brihadeswara temple, and this was taken from the temple top. Here you can see the traces of moat and the houses beyond that point. And this is another view where it was also taken from the temple top. You can have an excellent view of the sides and the temple. Here you can see the temple enclosure, and this is the fortification wall. You can see the provisions for cannons, and this is the moat area. Now this has been converted into a grand Anicut canal, a kind of canal used for irrigation. It comes from the dam of Kallanai, which is believed to have been built by the Cholas. And here you can see the main enclosures, and here in the corners you can see the Ashta Parivaralayas, small shrines of Ashta Parivaralayas, various deities of directions. And this is the enclosure wall that you have it here all around. And this was built by the Senapati, or the army general of Raja Raja, called Krishnan Raman. And this is the view of the Shikara, which was believed to be made of single stone. Now it is believed that it is made of multiple stones. So this particular vimana is actually the superstructure above the Garbhagriha or Sanctum Sanctorum. In South Indian temple, vimanas are the structures above the Garbhagriha, and gopuras are the structures above the entrance gate. That is the main distinction. And this is another close-up image of the figure, a dwarf. The main shikara of the vimana is shown as being carried by a kind of dwarf figure here. This is a very interesting image. This has a stucco coating on top. Now we will come to some of the myths about Thanjavur Brihadisvara Temple. Whatever the truth or a reality, people always get some kind of fun when there is some mystification takes place, or when some story is built around the reality. See, what happens is many of the tourists and the public believe the stone Nandi that is found in the Thanjavur temple grows. Even many scholars have tried to alleviate these kind of facts, but people go on telling and sharing the information that the Nandi grows by a small thin thread level, up to a thread, say some few millimeter every year, and it's been growing. This is one myth. The second myth is that the shadow of the vimana never falls on the ground. And the third one is, as I said, the main Shikara or Brahmandra stone was taken from Sharapallam, and it was made of single stone and weighs about 80 ton. Now these are all considered as myths. Now we will come to the temple Brihadishwara. As I said, the Brihadishwara means a magnificent temple of Lord Shiva. It was built by Raja Raja Chola of the dynasty, and its consecration ceremony took place in 1010 AD. Now the temple is actually about 1010. That means 1,000 years and 10 years completed. And this is an old presentation that we made long back, and some of the slides I have updated here. Interestingly, it is entirely built of granite stone, and in the Thanjavur region, where we do not have any kind of stone sources. That is the main aspect. The main entrance has a Gopura known as Keralantakan Gopura, and Keralantakan was the title of Raja Raja. The kings, in a sense, took a title after conquering a particular region, like Kadaram Kondan. After conquering Srivijaya in Southeast Asia, Rajendra took the title, the conqueror of Katara. Same way, he took the title Rajendra, son of Rajaraja, took the title Gangai Kondan after conquering Bengal. Similarly, Rajaraja, after conquering Kerala, he took the title Keralantaka. This was a common practice. So this entrance Gopura was given this name. The next Gopura, the temple has actually two Gopuras in the entrance and one Vimana as part of the main shrine. And also the temple has several other entrances. Anukan Thiruvayil is another kind of entrance. Probably it was used by Rajaraja himself. And also the temple has a huge Dwarapalakas that is very typically found in many of the South Indian temples. You find two huge images, guardian temple guards with gathas and other kind of paraphernalia. They are the protectors of the temple, and the temple stands on a huge rectangular basement called Upapida. The temple has two-storied Garbhagraha, sanctorum, and it has the tallest linga, about 4 meter in height, and both the stories have inner passages. It is called the Shantara type of temple, in which the shrine, the main shrine, has a circumambulatory passage, and the ground floor of the main temple has the Chola painting, original Chola paintings datable to 11th century. And these paintings had been coated by later Nayaka paintings, and they were later on found out, and they removed the Nayaka paintings. Now if you go to the temple, you can see the original Chola paintings in the circumambulatory passage. However, because of the conservation process, now Archaeological Survey of India, they don't allow the public to visit because it can cause health problem, as well as that these paintings can get damaged because of the breathing and too many people viewing that. In order to support the people to have a look at and glimpse of these paintings, there is an interpretation center set up by the Archaeological Survey of India in the circumambulatory passage, wherein you can get the copy of the original Chola paintings. The top floor has sculptures of Bharatanatyam, And Bharatanatyam is one of the important kind of art supported by Raja Raja. Mainly the women who were dedicated to the temples, they were performing these dances. The out of the 108 Bharatanatyam karnas, only 81 poses are completed. They are found in the circumambulatory passage. Only 81 are completed. Others are left as blank. You don't find the complete picture of these particular sculptures. It has 13 tiers or talas. The temple has about 13 tiers, and you can have a view from the outside. I'll show some of the images. The vimana is the tallest vimana in India. It has 13 tiers or floors. The Vimana superstructure is found over the Garbhagraha. It is pyramidal in shape, and its total height, as I said, it is 216 feet. Interior of the Vimana is hollow. The outer blocks of granite meet at the top, corbelling using the corbelling method. It is something fantastic view to view the see this inner shell of the Vimana from the interior. The shikara is topped by a huge stone made of many blocks of stone. Earlier, people thought it had it was made of a single stone and weighing about 80 ton. Now they think that it was actually made of several stones, like an orange fruit, made several stones put together, and it was placed. The kalasha is golden in the sense that it had gold coating, and it is of copper bronze. The stones were probably brought from either Tiruchirappalli or from Pudukkottai region, far away. Probably they use the help of elephants, and some of the stones could have been transported by water through the rivers. And you have a network of canal giving water supply to Thanjavur. Probably they used them. So as now the latest theory is that they were filling the sand as they were constructing. Very interesting thing is the linga is so huge, it could not have been taken after the construction of the temple. So originally what they did was they first placed the linga, and then they were building the vimana all around. While they were building this, if any stone or anything falls, the linga would damage. Even otherwise sculptures would damage. Probably as they were building, they were filling sand in between so that they could build. And this is the view of the vimana. Here, this is the view from a little away outside the fortification wall. Here you can see the majestic temple, and which is very typically pyramidal. You can see this temple reaches a very steep kind of angle. Then after this point, it declines. We do not know whether it was done intentionally. Probably it was done as a part of weight distribution so that the temple would last long. Otherwise, if they were building on right in this angle, the temple would have gone to a greater height. We do not know why there is a sudden reduction in the width and the overall area. Probably this was to support the superstructure. This is the front gateway. This is known as what you see in the front. This area to the right, you see the moat, and here you can see the fortification. This particular smaller entrance gate is known as Maratha Gate. The Maratha kings who occupied Thanjavur in the later period, they were supporting the temple. They were financially supporting the temple, as well as they were renovating some these temple. We have a lot of documentary evidence for these activities. This is how the temple looks when you enter. This photograph was taken about 5 years ago, and we will see better photograph. This is a photograph taken very recently after the Kumbhabhishekam. Here you can see the Maratha gate, and this is known as Kerala Gopuram. This is what is Gopuram. This is a Gopuram. This is basically a superstructure above the entrance. This is Kerala Gopuram. This is typically found in South India. This is one of the earliest example where Raja Raja introduced this kind of Gopuram. We have an earlier example for this at Kailash, the temple Kanchipuram. So Raja Raja in a way wanted to innovate in architecture. So he introduced this particular Gopura style here at this temple. Okay, I'll move on here. So this is another close-up. Here you can see the right. Here you can see the Maratha gateway here, and this has been plastered with cement or other material or stucco material. Here you can see the laterite built fortification wall and provisions for cannons all around. And this was built during the later time. And here you can see the second Gopura, Keralandakan, and then here you can see the Raja Rajan Thruvoyil. And this is the second Keralandakan Thruvoyil or gateway, an interior view. And this is called Gopura. This is called Gopura in Tamil. This is another view from the second kind of Gopura of Raja Rajan Thruvoyil. And here you can see two huge Dwarapalakas, and then this is the kind of entrance. And very interestingly, if you look at the main kind of stones used for the entrance, they are very massive, more than 40 feet in height. And they very carefully selected the stone so that the entire stone can support the weight of the vimana. So that is one monolith for which they must have spent a lot of effort in transportation. This is again Gopuram, and we will move into the inner shrine little later. And this is another view of sunset. Here you can see this kind of Kerala Andakan Gopuram or Kerala Andakan Thiruvasal, and then Rajarajan Thiruvasal, and this is the main Vimana. These two are Gopura, Vimana, and this is the fortification wall, and this gives you an overall view. So this is the inner view of this Vimana, and this is Nandi Mandapa, and this was built during the later time. This Nandi is also very huge, considered to be the second largest Nandi in India after the one in Nandi Hills near Mysore. This is a very important Nandi, and here this photograph was taken from the Vimana side, and here you can see the Nandi Mandapa, and here you can see the Gopura of Rajarajan and Kerala and beyond. And this is Amman Shrine. This was constructed later. This is Nadaraja Mandapa, where you have a dancing image, bronze image of Nadaraja, and this is the circumambulatory passage. These are all Ashtadik Balas and different deities like Varunan, Indran. They have been given shrine in different areas. And this is another view of the Vimana front side, and where you can see Ganesha and Shiva and Muruga and Subramanya, and this is considered to be the scene of Kailasha, represented outside in the main Vimana. And these each one is called a tire. Here you can see a sala kind of shala kind of structure, rectangular. This is called shala, and these are karnakudu. Each one is called tires and tiers, including the ground and first floor. This has 13 tiers. And this is another view where you can see the 13 tiers, 1, 2, 3 up to this, and this is known as griva or neck portion, and this is shikara, right? And this is the view of the Nandi. This particular Nandi is considered of later time, placed during the Nayaka period. This is Tvajastamba, a flag staff. During the festival time, they raise flag here. And this is Rajarajan Gopura. And this is another view of this main shrine. Here you can see the front Mukha Mandapa and the Maha Mandapa and other features here. See, look at another view here, another view of the same temple, and this is another view of the Dwarapalas found in the near the entrance. Yeah, near the side entrance called the vestibule. Here also you can find Dwarapalas. As you enter the temple, after the Mukhamandapa and Ardhamandapa, you have this vestibule called Antarala, through which you can come out. Actually, this particular kind of design helps provide more air circulation as well as light to the inner shrine. You find a lot of sculptures You find image of Bhikshadana, Shiva as Bhikshadana here, and several other deities on the niches of the temple. You can look at these vialas. They are of so massive type and very well carved, and it shows that these temples were very well planned. Here you can see an image of Nataraja in dancing posture, and these niches have so many other sculpture. Here you can see an image of Ganesha. So the temple is replete with various sculptures. Here you can see Harihara, a form of Shiva as well as Vishnu together. This particular portion represent Vishnu. Here you can see he holds a kind of conch, and this particular portion represents Shiva. He holds an axe. This is Harihara. Here you have Lingodbhava. I am sure you know the story of Lingodbhava, in which Shiva is depicted in the center of a linga, and Vishnu is depicted as a boar trying to look into his depth of his leg, and then here Brahma is taking the form of a swan and trying to reach his head. So here in this particular Lingodbhava image, Shiva is shown as a superior god, superior than Vishnu and Brahma. And this particular Lingodbhava, Shiva standing in Lingua with Vishnu as a boar and Brahma as swan, is depicted on the western side of the shrine. This is very common in many of the temples. Here you can find an image of Ardhanari, Shiva as Gangadhara. Here Shiva bringing the Agasha Ganga to the earth. That theme, one of the popular theme here, you find this particular theme of Shiva bringing Ganga to the earth is depicted in several temples. Another famous sculpture is found near Trichy in the rocket cave of Pallavas. So you find many such sculptures. Here you find Shiva with Uma. This is found in the Devakoshta of this temple. You find image of Durga standing on Mahishasura Mardini, as that particular kind of image is very popular. It was mainly supported by the kings, since they were undertaking a lot of expedition and political activities. They were worshipping, mainly the warriors worshipped Durga, because they felt Durga gave them victory in the battle. This is another view of Lingodbhava found on the western side of the shrine. You find a lot of warriors and image of Tripurandaka in the upper story, and you also find another image which is probably, we do not know, it is depicted as a kind of non-Indian figure, and some scholars identify this as foreigner and some as Chinese. Possibly it was created in the later period, and this is another view of another view from the Vimana. You find a beautiful Subramanya shrine in the northwest, and this is the circumambulatory passage. You can see the pillars. It's been built very beautifully. This is another view of the front area of the shrine, and now you can see the shade of this particular temple, and you can understand very well the myth that the shade never falls. And you can find this particular photograph was taken from the Vimana area. This is another view, and you get a lot of beautiful pictures. These pictures are from a publication of Archaeological Survey of India, and you find some rare images, paintings of Chola period. Now you may not be able to see these paintings, but you can see them at the interpretation center. These paintings depict several stories associated with Shiva and Puranas, and here you can see Nataraja dancing in the temple of Chidambaram, which is famous for the worship of Nataraja. And here you can see the shrine with a gold plated roof. These roof tiles are very interesting, and this particular kind of roof you can see at Chidambaram temple. This is another view of the same, Here, this figure is identified as Raja Raja, a tall figure, and Raja Raja worshipping this along with his queens. And this is something very interesting painting found. And this is another Puranic story of Shiva as Tripurandaka, Shiva destroying the forts of three demons, and that particular story is depicted as a painting. It's very interesting. In this area, you also find the painting of Shiva as Dakshinamurti and several other interesting paintings. This is Subramanya Shrine found within the temple complex. This was built during the Nayaka time. You also find certain measurement rods here, and this I documented as part of my research. This is the front Mukha Mandaba's cornice, an interior view. This was a later kind of development, and this is another view of the temple. Here, interestingly, you find a lot of inscriptions in the temple in detail, recording the lands donated to the temple as well as the jewelry donated to the temple. Diverse varieties of jewelry were donated by Rajaraja and his sister Kundabai, but we do not know where they were. Thanjavur had two treasuries. One treasury was mainly meant for the temple, another was a royal treasury. From the treasury, they were giving jewelry for making ornaments. We don't have any evidence for these. My research was on the medieval ornaments, very carefully studying the inscriptions. So I tried to work on the ornaments, and this photograph shows some of the Chola sculptures having a diverse variety of ornaments. And also my purpose was to estimate the weight of the ornaments as described in the literature. This paper is published. Here I am moving into the research aspect of the presentation. Here you can see this kind of this is called kunjimani or gunja seeds. It weighs about 110 milligram approximately, and this one is called manjadi. It weighs twice this. So we did an experiment. We checked the weight. This is called kunjimani in Tamil, manjadi, and we estimated the weight. Sometime we found them perfectly matching as mentioned in the inscription. Now what I did was, as part of my study, I went on to analyze the jewelry given to the temple. So if you look at the ornament Tirupattigai, it is a kind of girdle worn on the hip, a kind of what is called as Vutiyanam. And this one is in the temple inscription, they give in Karanju Manjadi, traditional weight. And they also mention about the diamond, different types of ruby, Manikam, Halagalan. They talk about ruby, Halagalan, different types of ruby and their number and the weight. So my research and also the value. In that time, it was 4,500 kashu. So my research was to looking into that particular ornament and then weight. Based on this estimation, based on the estimation of these seeds, I try to estimate the weight of stones. I try to understand. Even in the Indus Valley period, people were in Harappan civilization. They were using similar kinds of seeds for their measurement. So based on this analysis, I could reconstruct. It is a very detailed analysis. I'll not present everything here. Here you can look at it. By undertaking this kind of analysis, we are able to visualize what was the weight and size of particular ornament. Here you can see diamond. So diamond weighs 16.82 milligram. So here you have ruby. Ruby weighs 578 milligram, and here pearl weighs 375 milligram. So what I did was, I took the average number given in the inscription and the weight given in the traditional measurement. Then I converted using the estimate that arrived at based on the sorry. I think one second. Okay. Okay. So I hope you can see here. You can see the weight. So what this analysis tells us, by minutely working on the detail, we are able to understand the jewelry. This study is basically based on the inscription and try to understand various kind of ornaments. In fact, we can really work on these ornaments to produce contemporary kind of ornaments. We have no idea how these ornaments were. And this is another Tripatikai, and here you can see the weight of these stones. They are known as ratnas. This is quartz weighing about 1012 milligram, about 1 gram. You have another stone called putti, pearl weighing about 300 and 115 115 milligram, coral about 124 gram. So what I did was I was trying to analyze. So Raja and his sister and others, though they donated so much of jewelry, they were given in the inscription in detail, but we do not know what really happened to that particular jewelry. So by looking at these inscriptions, we can understand and visualize. Here this particular image shows what is the size of different precious stone that were given to the temple. So this kind of analysis help us to visualize the written record. When you look at the inscription, you cannot visualize, but when you try to analyze this by converting this weight into normal, you can see. And here they also talk about pearls. Pearl was produced during in the Pandian country near the coast of Rameshwaram. And if you look at this inscription, you see a lot of pearls used in different kinds of ornaments. We have Sri Chandam, and what I did was I tried to estimate the size of the pearl. And if you see, some of the pearls were of very exact size, 110 milligram and 120. It shows that they were using different kinds of pearls, different weight categories in different kinds of ornaments. So by undertaking this analysis, we are able to understand the jewelry used during the Chola time. And here you can see different comparative chart of diamond, ruby, and pearl. And you can say pearls were much larger in size, and ruby were much larger in terms in certain ornaments. So you can see their distribution here. I'll not go into the details. These are different ornaments, Uruthu, Sudakam, Tiruvadikarai, and these are all ornaments worn on the head and other parts of body. And we get a very detailed description in the inscription. I'll not go into the detail because we are almost nearing 1 hour. I'll just try to finish. And also you get reference to Navaratna Modaram. Navaratna Modaram is considered very good for bringing fortune in Indian astrology, and you get reference to Navaratna Modaram in the Thanjavur Brihadisvara Temple. With this, I would like to finish my PowerPoint presentation. I'll share some more points here. Um, yeah. So when you look at this temple, there is much more story to tell, and how I have presented only as one case study the jewelry given to the temple, and you have evidence of land donation given to the temple, and several workers were employed in the temple, mainly servants, and they were taking care of the temple complex, offering services. What happened is that all of a sudden, then you see after the death of Raja Raja, probably his reign ends in 1014, and you can see that his son Rajendra shifting and creating a new capital in Gangaikonda Cholapuram. We really do not know what forced Rajendra first to shift his capital from Thanjavur to Gangaikonda Cholapuram. There are a lot of speculations. Some people say that it is because of the feud between son and the father, and some misfortune, and that is why he had to build this Ganga, why he has to bring Ganga water. These are all speculation. You never know what really happened, why Rajendra shifted the capital from Thanjavur to Gangaikonda Cholapuram. And there is much more to see in the temple. If you go into the painting, and it was a kind of institution that was linking up the entire Chola Empire, and Raja Raja also gave a lot of donation to the shepherds. Sometimes goats were given. In a way, the wealth was generated and redistributed through the temple as a kind of medium. And we also find several musicians employed in the temple, and their salary is also given in detail, how much is salary to be given per year in terms of paddy or rice, not in cash or other kind. So different people, architects and everything. So the temple displays a perfect documentation. Finally, that everything disintegrated. We do not know what happened. And later on, during the Maratha rule, we find some renovation. During the colonial rule, people did not have much information really who built. And after the arrival of colonial rule, the archaeological survey of India, others, they started documenting the inscription. That is how we started understanding the story of Thanjavur Brihadisvara Temple. Right now, it is a World Heritage Monument protected by Archaeological Survey of India, and this particular monument is a key attraction in Thanjavur. It brings lakhs and lakhs of visitors to this temple, and also to the town. It supports even today. It supports the economy, and it is a very wonderful view to see the temple, especially in the night time. And also, a lot of cultural festivals are organized mainly during Navaratri and other festival times. People perform dances, and this is a wonderful temple to visit. And definitely, every history students and history lovers should see this temple. And there are a lot of interesting information. If you are interested, you can go on reading. And it is still architectural masterpiece, and it is still standing perfectly for more than 1,000 years. That shows the achievement of Cholas. And thank you for the opportunity. Thank you. And that is the end of my presentation.
Thank you, sir. It is an architectural wonder, uh, and we wanted to have a scholar who can really talk in 1 hour everything about the temple. And you are the true scholar who has narrated everything in a very simple, like a yogi who has been explaining everything simply. But this simplicity has a great magnifying meaning. Everybody who has listened to you with a sense of commitment, with a sense of learning, with a sense of engagement. And it is our in fact, it is a dream it was a dream of FolkBrain to organize a lecture by a great scholar like you on Brihadeshwara, the temple of the kings of king of the god of gods, Shiva. And you have done it, sir. Everybody has been praising you. So, we have Dr. Anjani Kumar Jha, who says the beautiful blending of architecture and the sculpture is marvelous, unparalleled in the world, that shows the might, skill, wisdom, and aesthetic sense of Chola. And somebody says superb lecture. But there are some questions also. Before the question, there is a sense of conservation point of view by Swatika Anandan. She has been saying that these paintings are deteriorating. I was there in December. Are there any efforts going on to restore these paintings? Sir, you have any answer for that?
Actually, Archaeological Survey of India, they are preserving the paintings. And I don't know whether Swatika Anandan, whether you saw the original painting in the circumambulatory, because they don't allow people to see that now. Very rarely they show it. I don't know whether you saw there was one in the interpretation center. Interpretation center paintings are only the copies. If you have seen, I think Archaeological Survey of India is taking effort in preserving, and most of the time the access is limited. They don't allow people to get into the chamber to see the painting because everybody wanted to see, and that is restricted now. And that is one way of preserving these paintings. And I think our Archaeological Survey of India is taking care of it. Uh, yeah, I think they have been regularly doing. Was there any
Okay.
educational institution like Gurukul attached to the
Yeah,
temple?
yeah.
Actually, in this temple, uh, not typically like educational institution, and these institution like they were dance teachers, they were musicians, they were teaching. So it is very clear. I didn't present on those. Inscriptions. They talk about the dancers and musicians and their salary, how much salary to be given the master teacher, how much salary to be given other teachers. So they were teaching dance and music, and these people were practicing. There were many temple dancers who were attached to the temple. So you can definitely say that they were teaching dance and music in this particular temple. But there are other temples where there were Vedic pathshalas attached, like temple in Ennairam, and there is one in other places like Thirumukudal, where there was a hospital, and there were different kind of students attached to it. So in some of the temples they had this kind of educational institution attached, but in this temple we don't have any evidence for other kind of thing, but mainly dancing and other music they were teaching, and they were attached to that, and these dancers were settled all around the temple. The main precinct, after that there were streets and they were given, so the people were living by the side, so they can directly come into the temple and learn and perfect their dancing. So this temple mainly dancing and music was dance and music was taught, and not other kind of, it might have been there, and only few kind of temples have evidence for these pathsalas or gurukul kind of system in South India. Yeah, yeah, there
So
was
you
too
have
much
seen in
focus
second
on
question.
education. Education was there in some of the temples. There was there. It was in limited pockets. They were teaching different vyakarans and other things. You find references in temples, like in Ennairam. There is evidence. There were colleges specifically for teaching scriptures and all that. And very interestingly, there were also people who were doing calculation, land measurement, taxation, and this was being taught. And people, I have actually done some research. There are papers available, you can check. And if you look at the land measurement of Cholas, you get a lot of reference to minute fraction, 1 by 320, 1 by 160. These fractions are also spoken in the inscription, and they were called accountants. These accountants were there in many of the villages, and their duty was to measure the land and assess the tax. So there were education of different kinds. Some places they were teaching Vedas and Mimamsa and Vyakaran and all that. In some places they were teaching the accounts and calculation. And also, if you look at the mathematical system, they were shifting from 8-based system to decimal based kind of calculation. If you look at the land area, sometimes land areas are conveyed in terms of multiples of 8, 16, 32, 64, 180, 128, 256, 512. That kind of units also existed. At some point, they are switching over to numbers like 100, 200, 2000. So there is some kind of transformation taking place in land calculation during the Chola time. That is, I am researching on this particular aspect. It is very interesting. You find a lot of references to fractions. Devadasis are there. Yeah, Devadasis, I told you, they are Talicheri Pendugal. And the meaning of Devadasis, this morning also I spoke in another lecture, the meaning of Devadasis were different. They were temple servants, and this institution probably degenerated only in the later period. These people were serving the temple, and there were 400 women who were, working in the temple. And they were known as Talicheri Pendugal. They were settled in the area around the temple.
Sir, coming back to conservation part, it has been
Mm-hmm.
recognized by UNESCO as a protected area, protected
Yeah,
temple,
yeah. Mm,
tangible heritage. Does
mm.
UNESCO play any role in preserving and conserving the painting and sculpture and the entire architecture? And what kind of role does UNESCO play? Just as an
No,
outsider,
actually,
I can ask you this question,
yeah,
sir.
they have actually Archaeological Survey of India has a World Heritage Monument section, separate section, and it has a director, and they have a monitoring committee which regularly checks, and the ASI is spending a lot of time and effort in conservation, and they are taking care. Actually, right now there are 2-3 stakeholders. The Thanjavur Aranmanai Devasthanam is managing the performance of temple
The
account,
rituals and
and
performance.
ASI, yeah, few only worship and other Hindu Religious Endowment Center of Tamil Nadu government is taking care of this, the performance of this accounts and all that, and the Tanjavur Aranmanai Devasthanam. And then we have this ASI taking care of only the monument. The regular pujas and festivals that is undertaken. So there are three agencies, four agencies working together. ASI regularly conducts monetary committee meeting, and they take care of that. Yeah, right. That most of the ancient
Again,
unit of measurement. Yeah, right. Mm. Yeah,
he's acknowledging
that,
you, like what you have said is true, and you know that everything has been very clearly described by you, and you have uh, talked about the very myths that are generated in the locality. The focus myths about this thing, shadow and all those things. So that has been carefully
yeah.
answered. So it is a very, it was in fact, as a matter of fact, was a very scientific presentation wherein
Okay. Thank you.
you have explained everything. But I would like to answer the last question, which has been,
Mhm.
it's not the question observation of question and observation both, jumbled together. BG, he and she, I don't know. They have been telling you that I have heard that contributions were received even from common people as spoons and other such items for the temple, and that is also mentioned in the temple inscription. Is that true?
So it actually says, the inscription says, whatever Raja Raja says, whatever I gave, whatever my sister gave, and others gave. So it is obvious that several people contributed. So so that is what it is said. So it was like a collective effort, whatever Rajaraja gave and his sister and the others. So it says koduttar koduttanavu, that is the expression. So that means all the common people gave, and I don't know any if there is any reference directly spoon that was given by somebody. It says different people contributed. That is how the inscription says. Whatever I gave my sister, this is what Raja Raja says, and others. So he doesn't list all those people. So basically, many people contributed, and many people had access to the temple. This was actually a temple in which royal as well as local people had a
Commons,
role in it.
royal
Yeah,
and commons both have the, both had the
yeah, right. Access,
opportunity to donate.
donate.
It did
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah,
discriminate on the basis of
yeah,
royalty and the commonality.
yeah, right.
So thank you. So thank you so very much, sir. It was a
Thank you. Welcome.
wonderful presentations. I have myself learned so many things from you, from your presentation. Everything was clear. Such a, on such a big temple architecture complex with such a big thing, and almost years old temple is still surviving with its magnificent size, beauty, architecture, painting, and a sculpture. And you have done it exact in 1 hour time. As a matter of fact, in 55 minutes. So we had a
Okay.
wonderful time with you, sir.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so very much for again for accepting our invitation and delivering this wonderful magnetic lecture substantiated with PowerPoint presentation. Sanjeev Kumar Singh, he's again
Yeah, right.
joining, and he
Yeah,
said
thank
that
you,
I am
Dr.
sure
Sanjeev Kumar.
that
Yeah,
and Sanjeev Kumar says that I am sure that everyone is enjoying this learned lecture and will enjoy. Yes, and so many word of applause for you, sir. Dr. Dalip Kumar says very interesting discussion is going on. So discussion is now going to be concluded. This discussion will continue, and maybe in future we will invite you, sir. We will travel you, and we will exploit your intellectual wisdom for the benefit of the people. And thank you so very much. Tomorrow
okay,
again we are
thank you.
going to organize one संगीत संध्या बाघेली लोकगीत ममता मिश्रा से जो बहुत अच्छी गायिका है and we will have a Bagheli folk song. Last word which has come from Dr. Bharti Deshpande. Great lecture. Thank you so very much. And then Pallavi Kulkarni, very, very informative. And Anil Kulkarni, very nice. So everybody is praising you, sir. Thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
here. Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you, thank you,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Dr. Kailash Mishra, and thank you, Dr. Sanjeev Kumar. Thank you. Bye. Right.
Namaskar.